Take off my coverall.
Keeps
then.
us from shaking. All right, boys, we are
I'm a
live.
flashlight.
We will start. We're up, so they should be able to see us any second now.
Right on.
Yep. Gauge it on here so I can make sure everything's good. And then here's some talking points that we can go over as well.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Boy.
Hello, hello, hello.
There he
Little
is.
introduction, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Jake. I'm the owner of Tacticon Armament. Today, obviously, as you know, per what we promised, we're going to be going over armor, our armor manufacturing, answering any questions about our armor, about the production process, just general questions about armor, what we like, you know, to run, what we would recommend in certain scenarios, any questions in general, and then I'll introduce Danny. Danny is the chief operating officer for the company, and he is responsible for all of the research and development for our armor, as well as setting up all the production processes, the equipment, hiring for it, and then putting new programs together for the armor. And then, of course, Nolan, company trigger jockey slash, just weapons expert in general, and then obviously facilitating all of our social stuff. Did you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, just if you have any questions, send down the chat. I'll absolutely take a look at it and answer it to the best of my ability. I'm super excited because I've never done one of these before, but I think it's going to be super fun. So
I've got wicked deja vu right now.
Do you?
Yes, and I fucking hate deja vu.
Oh.
Deja vu sucks, dude.
God, it's the worst. It's like what's happening to me, right? Like,
Is it
no,
from,
I'm
like,
not gonna
the
do
last-
it. I don't know. No. It's just like legit deja vu, like where this has happened to me before, and I don't like that feeling. It bothers me, and so like it makes me want to fucking flip a table over or something just to change up the.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I've done that before,
Okay.
like just break a glass where I was like, okay, that wasn't part of the deja vu, and it just kind of breaks the cycle. So, anyway.
That's all good.
But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about armor, not my fear of deja vu.
More importantly, other than your fear of deja vu, just checking how's the audio for you guys. Is it a good level? Do we need to go louder?
Is the video lagging by any chance?
Yeah, it's got a bit of a lag.
They're like 3 seconds behind
30
us.
seconds behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deja vu is being right on track.
Not this time. Sweets.
Golden.
That's good.
How many
Golden
cats
like
we
juice.
got in
A
here?
little bit louder, okay?
Where would you guys mind like just throwing in the comments where you're from real quick?
Yeah.
While we only have a few of you in here, so we can kind of cruise through and just. I'm always curious to see where.
Missouri. Two
Oh,
Missouris.
two Missouris. Okay.
Pacific Northwest, North Carolina, PA, Michigan.
Right on.
SoCal.
Nice.
San Bernardino. Okay.
Cali.
Brentwood.
Cali. Right on.
So we got a little bit from
Good
East
stuff.
Coast,
A little bit
West
everywhere.
Coast, a little bit Central
Well,
too.
thanks for joining, guys. We appreciate it. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
New Orleans.
If you guys,
Boston.
if you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
don't already know this, you may or may not already know this. There's a bill on the assembly floor right now for the state of California to ban body armor for civilians. The basic, it's unfortunate because it's a very passive way for one to defend themselves, and it's in clear violation of our Second Amendment, which is, but nonetheless, they're trying to push it through.
Wasn't there another state that was doing it as well now?
Correct. I think there's.
I forgot who it was.
It is. Is it? It's not Missouri. It's Illinois.
Illinois.
Illinois
That
is
sounds
in the
about right.
process of doing it right now as well. So,
Hmm.
and it's it's purely a defensive posture to own body armor, a very passive defense as well. So, yep, it's sad.
Yep. It's very sad. It's super unfortunate, actually, that they continue to not only infringe, but take away passive.
My opinion on
defense.
it is this. So their reasoning, like if you look at why they want to, I mean we're not here to talk politics,
Yeah.
but politics affect our right to bear arms, so it's kind of hard to not talk about some sort of politics when it comes to this stuff. Their reasoning for it is, well, if we remove somebody's ability to purchase body armor, then if, in the event of the commission of a crime, that person will be, they'll have a harder time, using body armor in the commission of a crime, and they always reference back to the Buffalo shooting where the shooter was shot and then continued his spree afterwards because he was wearing armor. But the reality of it is, I mean, it's just kind of like you can outlaw murder, right? But people still murder.
Oh,
So
that's true.
if you put body armor on somebody, if you remove the law-abiding citizens' ability to purchase body armor, the only people that aren't wearing body armor are going to be the people that are abiding by the law. Anybody else is going to find a way to get it. So anyway,
I mean, you can
enough
find-
about
You
what.
can find it floating around everywhere now. I mean, there's so much body armor in America right now. It's probably super easy. Yeah, I see it on
Yeah.
crazy enough, like Facebook Marketplace. I see it on Facebook Marketplace all
Absolutely.
the time, which is crazy. Not really crazy, but it's kind of interesting to see that it's being sold. But I don't know if Facebook outlaws that or not. So I know for firearm components and stuff they won't allow it, but for certain things like body armor, I'm not sure where that fine line is.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't now, they may eventually, but
Secondhand armor feels weird to me.
it
I
does.
know.
It feels like a
Well, I
weird
wouldn't-
statement. Like
I won't fuck with it.
popping on eBay, buying some secondhand armor.
Yeah.
Nope.
The only thing is like if it's ceramic, right? You don't know if it's been dropped or how it was taken care of. So I mean, and,
Facts.
and there's just some unless you get X-rayed, right? Like let's say you go to an airport and you slide it through and you get X-rayed and you can ask the operator, hey, how's it look? Does it look like it's in one piece?
Don't
Yeah,
take your body
yeah.
armor.
There's
to
a
the
life
airport.
hack for you. You
Yeah.
could purchase body armor
Yeah.
on the secondhand
Yeah.
market, take
Yeah.
it to the airport. We've taken plenty of
Yeah.
body armor as
Yeah.
carry-on
I did.
onto an airplane. You're allowed to do it, actually, believe it or not. So, yeah, run it through the X-ray. And
See if
then
it's cracked.
ask him to take a look at it and see if your ceramics are cracked.
Yeah, I think it was
So.
actually just this past trip. So we went on trip. Jake and I went on trip to Phoenix, and I took 5 plates in my carry-on, and didn't get stopped for. So you can
No,
do
yeah.
it. You can do it.
Yeah. They
That's
have
pretty
stopped
neat.
us though.
Yeah.
They're like, "What is this?" And you're
Yeah.
like, "Armor." And they're like, "Hold on, we gotta call somebody. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're allowed on the plane with this." And
Yeah.
then eventually, they always let us go. So.
Yeah, that's kind of cool though.
Cool.
Well, we got our first question coming in.
right
what,
on.
what is the best armor and how good is?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That's from Milton.
Yep.
All right, so I think we all have different opinions on what the best armor is, right? I know Jake has his opinion. Nolan has his opinion. I have my opinion. I'll just start off first. I feel like there is no correct answer to that question, right? And the only reason why I say that is it just depends on the application. All right. Let me give you an example, right? So let's say you want something that does not show too much. Like let's say you're in a party environment, right? You don't want someone seeing you wearing a level 4, right? Because level 4s are like an inch thick minimum, right? Just enough to stop the AP round. So you don't really want to be walking around with a plate that's sticking out this far, right? You want something that's concealable, something that's not noticeable, right?
Well, plus two, it's not just an inch one way. You're getting an inch the other way,
Yeah.
most likely.
Well, interesting enough, some officers only run the plates in
Front
the
plates?
Front plates only, yeah. And they don't do the back plate.
They
'cause-
obviously haven't watched Black Hawk Down.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think it's just based off of what your scenario is, right? So let's say if I want to keep something in my car, I would honestly keep steel plates because you can keep them in the back without any degradation. You can throw them around. I'll throw all sorts of things on my steel plates and nothing will happen, right? But if I'm running, let's say, if I'm running some crazy op, right? I don't foresee myself running crazy op, but if I was, then I would prepare for that certain threat. So, and sometimes you can't really forecast what you're going to encounter, right? So yeah, you could go all out for level 4, but unless you know that the opposing threat is not going to be running AP rounds, I would just run a level 3 or SRT. And that's why we have so many different kinds of armor available, is so you can kind of tailor it to what your situation is, instead of just buying one and hoping that it's going to be the best for every situation, right? If it was like an end of the world situation, maybe you want to get the best because you want to stop everything. But keep in mind, if you buy the best, that plate might only be good for 4 shots. Whereas if you have a steel application, it could be good for multiple shots, right? Unless you're encountering certain rounds that will penetrate it, then that could be a very big problem, right? But I think it's just a situational based kind of thing that you should look at and kind of purchase it based off of that.
Yeah, I can. I think we'd be remiss not to say that. Danny was very diplomatic with his answer. I'm not so much. I say, your primary threats are 5.56 and 7.62 by 39 and pistol, right? So over 90% of the homicides committed in the United States with a firearm are with a pistol, right? So that means that, if you've got pistol armor on and and you were to encounter a threat, there is a 90% plus probability that whatever threat you encounter is going to you're going to be wearing the proper body armor for that. For me, it's like I don't really want to fuck around and find out if somebody is actually like walking around with a rifle, and I'm like, fuck, I'm wearing the wrong armor, right? So I choose to carry armor. SRT Plus is my armor of choice, and the reason why that is because SRT Plus will stop green tip. It will stop. We just made a video about this, so I'm sorry if I'm kind of redundant here, and you've already seen the video, but there's green tip is everywhere right now, and it's because 2020 ammo shortage happened, and then everybody went and bought green tip. So a lot of people have it, and so my thought is get some armor that will stop green tip out of a 5.56. Get some armor that will stop some 7.62 by 39 out of an AK, and then obviously all the pistol rounds that fall underneath it. It'll stop that too. You're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody running around with 30-06 armor piercing, and that's why level 4 isn't necessarily, my first choice. But if you were going to go into a wartime or combat environment, and you knew you were going into a combat environment, like I'm talking like, Russian red parachutes falling out of the sky or something, level 4 is where it's at, right? It's definitely where it's at. But pistol, if you're on a budget, pistol-rated armor, it's lightweight. It'll stop 90% plus the threats. And if you're into it for rifle-rated armor, I just don't advise anybody getting anything less than a level 3 plus, or at least that SRT plus, which is a special rifle threat that'll stop the AK and the AR, and the green tip, right? Those level 3 plates, those pure polyethylene plates like this. This is pure polyethylene. There's no strike face on the front of this. And because of that, it won't stop green tip. So I mean, if you're in it to stop a rifle threat and you're not in it to stop a green tip, I just don't recommend that. There goes all sales for the level 3s that we produce.
Hey, you gotta be honest though.
And this is what it looks like to have a ceramic strike face, right here. So this is already a shot plate that we've tested in the ballistics lab. But those are my thoughts on it.
Iron Man suit. That's the best armor.
Iron Man suit.
Yeah, you can get yourself an Iron Man suit.
And here's a killer balance. We have an SRT, which is a special rifle threat plate that he built that is 2.5 pounds. Okay, it doesn't stop the green tip, but it stops AK and it stops AR and it stops the 308, but it fails the back face deformation. So NIJ has 44 millimeters is what's allotted inside of clay for back face deformation, and this is kind of what it looks like right here, right? And so this is an SRT plate. Stupid light. I mean, you're talking 2.5 pounds and stops rifle threat. So, I mean, if you still wanted a really, really light plate and you were going to be doing a lot of moving around in it, the regular SRT, not the plus with the ceramic, but this is a killer way to go.
True.
I think you have to look at it almost like an active shooter environment, right? So a lot of the shooters that are out there right now, and at least school shootings, right? Usually it's handguns, rifles, but I don't know specifically if they are like picking up a very specific ammunition to counteract body armor, right?
Yeah.
So they might be just using standard lead, just standard.
I don't think a whole lot of
M93 or
thought
anything.
goes into it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, for them, they probably just grab whatever the fuck's on their shot. I mean,
Whatever's the cheapest,
they're
and they just run it, right?
I would assume.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what goes through their mind. They're, obviously insane to be doing whatever it is that they're doing in the first place. But I wouldn't imagine that a whole lot of thought goes into the type of ammunition they're running when they're going in to do something as tragic as shoot up an elementary school.
So next question we got here is, since we have steel, ceramic, and polyethylene, where do you see the future of armor being?
That is a good question. I'm going to answer that in a second.
Okay.
But I wanted to finish up that previous discussion that we were talking about. Zombie apocalypse, steel. Straight up. Like if you had to take everything you had and you were going to be living on the fucking land for the rest of your life and never knew when society would come back in as a, like, when manufacturing would come into play again, and a
And
civilized
grocery stores
society.
are open again.
Grocery stores are open again. Steel is the way to go because it doesn't expire; it'll last forever, and it's just you don't have to worry about how you treat it. And anyway, that's
But
all in.
if it's a zombie apocalypse, are they shooting at you as zombies?
Well, no, but you're talking. You clearly do not watch zombie shows.
No.
Because it is the zombies are the least threat.
So
in
are
the
you
zombie
talking about
apocalypse
like the other people that want your resources?
Yes.
Bingo.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're talking about
Okay.
the other humans that are still alive, that are they're going to be up in your shit, that have guns. What was the question one more time? Is where do we see the future of armor coming in?
Yeah. With everything that we have now, where do we see the future of armor?
Man, it is. There has been very incremental change in the technology of body armor over the course of the last decade. The change comes with the suppliers who are continuously trying to innovate. We can only, we can try to innovate our production process, but the supplies are really where the innovation comes into play. Would you agree? The polyethylenes and the raw materials. And we haven't seen a huge spike in that innovation in a while. So we're kind of, I can't
I would
imagine.
say the innovation would come with weight savings, right? So as technologies increase, they can process polyethylene more efficiently, and the stuff that would normally cost us like, I don't know, $80 per yard just to get,
Yeah.
it might come down to like 30, right? So now we can start making lighter weight stuff that's more readily available to the general public instead of charging them an arm and leg
Yep.
than anything else. So I think
That's true.
having some that's lighter could be an option as well. I mean, you're talking about lighter being less, like dropping a pound or half a pound, right? Like how many pounds do you really want us to drop? I mean,
All of them.
all of them. So maybe we can make like a 1 pound level 3 plus blade or something like that, or level 4, right? Maybe that could be doable. But
So just some advice too, when you guys are talking about like the weight of armor and how it's dispersed on your body. A lot of it comes down to the plate carrier and what type of plate carrier you have, or how you wear your plate carrier. And the reason for that is because if you get a good plate carrier that distributes the weight properly, like you can wear a little heavier armor and it's not going to affect you nearly as much. You really want a plate carrier where you can cinch down on that cummerbund and that weight is distributed on your torso instead of your shoulders. And that's why the elastic cummerbunds work so good, because it distributes that weight on your torso instead of over your shoulders, and those are the ones that I prefer to run. So
Yeah.
innovate.
I guess like from my mind, what I can see is just like Danny said, lighter,
Yep.
and then maybe just tighter weaves and more flexible solutions.
Yeah.
Getting to like flexible rifle threat armor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I can really kind of
Yeah.
see happening, because armor's kind of been armor since armor's been armor.
I mean, I've got some solutions.
I mean, so the innovation, I'll say it's not going to be necessarily I can't foresee anything that is going to be a better bullet resistant, having better bullet resistant properties than the tools that we already have and the materials that we already have for the near future. But what I do see is with the prevalence of body armor and the fact that a lot of people have it, the way that people are starting to train is a little bit differently. So wearing body armor on different parts of the body is going to be probably more prominent. So that I see as the future. Where I see it coming in is like when we train often, like the pelvic area, the pelvic region is kind of the new alpha zone, right? So instead of center mass, center of the chest, you have an arterial junction, right, kind of like in between in your pelvic area. And you shoot somebody there. I mean, you can't put a tourniquet on it.
Nope.
I mean, the only way to really stop the bleeding is going to be surgery, and we all know if you hit an artery, I mean, you got about a couple of minutes.
There's a lot of squirty boys in there. You pierce the bladder, you're gonna poison the person out via
Yeah.
their own fluids. Like, it's a
Right.
nasty spot to get shot.
So pelvic armor is what I see us probably
Yeah.
putting some focus in the future. I mean, is aside from the material part of it, it's like, where do you wear your armor? I don't know if there was a very creative way to make, armor for your for your head that wasn't still going to kill you when you got shot with a rifle and
Right.
a helmet, right? Or over your face. I mean, that would be ideal. Those are the things that we can really get creative with. That's where the future of armor could potentially go.
Reducing the transfer of energy
Over
better.
the pelvic region as well. And, I highly recommend if you guys are training and you go out to the range, practice putting rounds in pelvis as well, because, if, shit hits the fan and everybody's running around with body armor, that's really where you're going to have to aim, is like the head and the pelvic area. So,
Yeah.
what's,
Kyle, to get to your question, is there a fast way to don the elite carrier? Yes. Practice, practice, practice. Keep one side locked, so you only, have, to,
keep one side
only have to
locked.
swim through one side and clip it. That'd be the answer for that one. Are y'all gonna make holsters for plate carriers? Perhaps, maybe. Like a molly attachment.
yeah, I'm all attached
Yeah.
holster.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Perhaps. Why aren't y'all producing side plates? You only have AR 500, AR 600 side plates, and quite frankly, I just don't want those.
Yeah.
That's
Why aren't we producing side plates?
That's a good question. I would say so. The primary focus, right? What we sell more of than anything else is going to be torso plates, right? So when we first started the operation back in November, well, not back in November, but when we first launched in November, right? We wanted to have the
To clarify, what did we launch in November? You're talking about the composites.
all the composites, all the
Correct.
composites.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
So in November we launched all the composites, and we only started with the torsos because it's just the easiest thing for us to sell. Because who's going to want to buy just side plates, right, and not have torso plates? So side plates are on the books for sure. Part of it is they're built slightly differently from these guys. Material is going to be slightly different as well. Ceramic is going to be slightly different. There are level 4 applications out there that we want to get into, possibly level 3 as well. It's weird because you can't really certify side plates for NIJ at least, or for that matter of fact. It's just for the NIJ you have to have a standard. I believe it's a 10x12, right? So 6x6 like that isn't really going to be super ideal for like us to try to submit to NIJ. Right now we do have a few NIJ's applications in the process right now. They're in the works.
We'll run a poll real quick. How many of you guys would buy side plates if we started making composite side plates? Because we can do it, but the way it works is like, just to kind of give you guys a brief overview of like how the armor is made. We have to machine out a mold to be able to put inside of a press. It takes some work and it takes some engineering, and it's not a problem because we have the capability to do it, but we have to know that there is a demand for it. So a poll is
think-
always really good. Would you purchase side plates? If you could, we'd machine the mold out, we lay up the polyethylene, we put it in a press.
I think the real question is do you want level 4s or level 3s? Because if it's level 4s, it's going to take a little bit because
that's right. You
I've
gotta
gotta
get the ceramics,
I've got to
yeah.
get the ceramics and everything, right? So if I can't,
True. Very true.
If I got to get the ceramics, that's going to be at least another 4 months or so, right? 3 months, 4 months, or something like that.
We could do straight poly
Yeah.
on the side plates though all day, right?
Yeah, I can do straight poly. Like
Yeah.
if I wanted to, and it's something that people want, I can easily get a mold machined out within 2 days and start the operation and start getting side plates out
True.
within like 2 weeks to a month, right?
Yeah.
But of course, I need to test it out to make sure that side plate is good, right? So there will be some time for us to test before we start selling it, and then afterwards we gotta get the production line going, figure out if we want a TPU setup or if we want just a polyurea setup, because we have to finish it up, right? So the other
So
thing,
what he's talking about is this
Yeah.
is TPU. This is thermopolyurethane,
thermopolyurethane, yep.
and this is a polyurea coating.
Yep.
So polyurea coating, this is basically bed liner, essentially, is what it is. It's not going to church it up and make it anything that it's not, but it's great. Keeps all the keeps the chemicals out, keeps the UV off of it. This TPU system is unique because this particular system, the one that we use, we don't use nylon as most other manufacturers will use. You can submerge this in diesel for like
For days.
days,
Yeah.
like 10 days, and it'll still, even though you're putting it inside of a solvent, the armor inside of it will still be intact and retained and
Pretty much the
unobstructed.
Pretty much the fibers and all the other materials that we use inside aren't going to get degradation, because
Right.
what happens is when something gets waterlogged or if there's a lot of UV into it, your polyethylene or your composites or your resin systems that are inside start breaking down over time. So it just expedites that process. And that also includes heat as well. So if you have a lot of heat exposure, that can also damage your plate as well. I'm talking about like 200 plus, by the way, 200 plus, or if you're like in Arizona, in the back of a trunk, and it's like 180 for
Right.
365 days a week, or 365 days a year. I mean,
Yeah, you definitely have to care for how you store your plates. Okay, so yeah, it's just we'll get into probably another. So the answer is like
Yeah,
for
we
the
can
side
side
plates,
plates,
we
100%.
can definitely do side plates, but it's going to be just level 3 side plates or the SRT side plates
Yep.
possibly, where it'll stop it'll stop a 5.56, it'll stop a 7.62 by 39,
Yep.
but maybe not a green tip because to get ceramics on that side plate would take a little bit more time. We'd have to get those custom made.
Yeah.
So.
Kinetic Raptor. Tell Jake I'm still upset about the Marines and Corpsmen are the same comment from the last live.
Okay.
Damn. Someone's holding on to it.
Holding a
They got a
grudge.
grudge. Yeah. Noted. Noted. You're a sailor.
Does all Tacticon
I'm just kidding.
does all Tacticon armor provide full or partial ballistic protection?
Oh, hold on. What was your girlfriend's dad was in the Marines?
Yeah.
Okay. And he said, what do you call
Oh yeah.
Marines are called jarheads. What do you call
Yeah.
soldiers in the army? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. So my girlfriend's dad is a Marine, and she was asking him what do you call
The army
dudes
calls
that are in the army? What do Marines call dudes that are in the army?
because we call dudes that are in the Marines
Jarheads.
Yeah, jarheads or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But what do they call the army guys?
Pussies.
Her dad said pussies.
Just without skipping a beat. But the
Naturally.
best part about it was he misspelled it.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was misspelled.
Can't even spell pussy.
I said like a true
Like
Marine.
a true Marine.
Does all Tacticon armor provide full or partial ballistic protection?
Randy, what do you? Can
Yeah,
you,
that's-
can you
that's-
clarify that a little bit?
That's a very broad.
Yeah.
We'll move on to that because we still got some questions to go to.
Yeah,
go
and
ahead
again,
try
that isn't
We'll
meant to be
revisit it.
insulting. I will
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
answer
We'll
that
revisit
question
that for sure.
if you clarify.
Yeah.
Will you be developing groin protection plate that can be added to my plate carrier vest?
Correct. Yeah, that goes into that pelvic armor that we were talking about. I don't know if you were in here when we were talking about pelvic armor, but that's one thing that we really want to dive into is getting pelvic armor
Yep.
that'll sit below the plate carrier and protect the groin.
Yep.
Like mainly because of the arterial
Junction.
junction that's down there, but secondary to that, nobody wants to get their dick blown off.
Hard facts.
So
Yep.
Well, at least by a bullet. What do you have? What do you have to defeat M855A1?
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
this
a
is you.
Dave
This is
question.
you.
So
I'm a media monkey, man.
I mean,
Okay.
at the level 4 for sure.
Yeah.
level
And
4
does our
all
level
day.
3 plus stop the M855A1?
I would
Have we
say
tested it with it yet?
our level. So we haven't tested it with
Like
level
a
3.
true A1.
Yes.
Right.
So true A1s, I believe the velocity is roughly like 3,100, 3,200, but they're built different. They were built way differently from the M855. So
They
I would
yeah.
say our level 3 plus, made with the ceramic strike face and the PE on the back side, would absolutely stop it.
Correct.
The only reason why I'm saying that is because the core in the M855 is similar, if not just a little bit larger than the M855, or the A1 is slightly larger than the M855. So it's relatively the same size round. I'm pretty confident that I can do it.
With a comparable velocity.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
right. And just so you guys, little backstory, what kills armor is typically speed, right? But also mass, right? It's energy that kills armor in general, and the equation for energy is mass times velocity. So the bigger the round and the faster it's going is usually what's going to tell.
Yeah.
And usually it's the latter, right? How
So
fast is it going? That's what's really going to kill
It's
the
like
armor.
those two pieces plus what is that round made of, right? Because if you have a special round like the M855A1 versus just your M193, that's the special sauce that they have inside the A1 is what can defeat a lot of things that the M193 can't. So just the polyethylene alone, right, isn't really capable of stopping something that has like a steel tip on the very end. So that's why the M855 does a really good job of penetrating it. But once when you introduce some to stop the steel tip, usually it's going to be like a steel strike face or a ceramic strike face. Then it just obliterates that bullet and just catches it on the backside.
So to answer your question, 855A1, level
Yep.
3 plus,
Yep.
a
And
full level 3 plus, and level 4.
level 4. Yeah. The only caveat I might see is maybe our SRT plus could stop it.
But it probably wouldn't pass the back face signature.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
but,
have no idea.
You know, it might. And the only reason why I even say that is because if that strike face blows out the front, then everything else in the back is just lead, and
Right.
it should do fine catching it. So
It's true. Yeah.
you know, it could be the SRT plus, the 3 plus for sure, and any of our level 4s.
But we'll test it. I mean,
Yep.
that's going to be ultimately that's what we're going to need to do to give
Yeah.
you a firm
A
answer.
definitive
Correct.
answer.
Definitive
Yep.
answer.
J-Dub, we do have a dangler. I released a video about it. You should know this, dude.
You should know. Where is it? Is
Do
it
it?
back here?
It's right there.
Can they see it
There's one over there. Yeah, you can see it.
in the video?
Yeah,
You can.
right above your head.
It's right here.
Yep.
The dangle.
The
little
dangles.
tourniquet right here. Little
they see it?
TQ going
Yeah, they
there.
can see
okay,
it.
like see it?
Yeah.
It is called the FUPA,
The FUPA.
the functional
Oh,
utility pouch
yeah, that's what
attachment.
it
Yep.
was.
The FUPA.
Okay.
Fooped out the game.
Made by America. You say that SRT 2.5 can take a 7.62. Are you talking 51 or
No.
39?
Well, both. It'll take both,
It'll
but
take-
only one of them will pass back face
Back face,
deformation as per NIJ standards. And that's the 7.62 by 39 out of an AK.
Are you guys going to dabble in the 7.62 setups, chest rig, mag pouches, etc.?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So our chest rig right now will take 3 7.62. Matt, is he talking about AK?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah, so our chest rig right now will accommodate 7.62 mags, 3 of them. All you have to do is take the 5.56 polymer inserts out of the chest rig, and then your 7.62 by 39 mags will fit beautifully inside of the chest rig.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Will you consider making ballistic bump helmets? Ballistic bump helmets is redundant. Bump helmets, yes. Ballistic helmets, yes.
Yeah, so we're considering I would like to in the future launch I'm going to start small with just digital night vision and bump helmets, trying to keep the price point well under $1,000 for both as a combined element. Now, I don't know if you've ever used digital night vision. It's not very operationally friendly, but it's one of those items that if you have digital night vision and the other person doesn't have any night vision, then you're going to win because you can see and they can't. So I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, obviously, if you can, the question was about helmets, but yes, initially when we launch bump helmets, I want to launch digital night vision, giving people the opportunity to train with them in the respect that they would walk into a room, be able to see whatever it is they needed to see, and then move forward, but you can't really move with those things on. The ballistic helmets are much more difficult
Yeah.
to manufacture. We do want to get into it, and hopefully within the next 365 days that'll happen. Is that kind of what you're looking at? Like maybe the next year,
Yeah,
getting at least a 3A line
You know,
out?
as much as I want to do it this year, I know with our capacity, we wouldn't be able to do it correctly, and then it would just get dragged on to next year anyways. So I think for this year, we're just focusing on working with a couple more different plates made out of like silicon carbide, right? Some higher performing plates, because right now we have
Silicon carbide is the ceramic. So this
Yep.
is aluminum oxide, right? And then what he's talking about is
Yeah.
just a lighter
Yeah,
ceramic.
it's
which
just a lighter ceramic, but it's going to be a little bit more of a performance factor for anyone that wants to shed some weight, and that's what we're focusing on this year. And more so, you know, with the new certifications that are coming out, hopefully within next year, we want to make sure we're geared up to have plates that can be submitted into that, right? So for helmets, it's something that we want to get into. It's just the learning capacity of doing helmets is a totally different animal. I would say it's way harder making helmets because you're talking about making a very spherical, right, ballistic part, and it's got to be done correctly. Because if you have a weak spot in it, it's going to be very bad because it won't have the structure, right? And the other thing too is that it's got to be very rigid. So you have to find a way to reinforce it, make it strong, make it durable, right? And especially if you're tossing around everywhere, it's just a lot of work and a lot of R&D to get into. So there's a reason why there's only maybe 3 big helmet manufacturers in the U.S. and they're good at it, right? So for us to get into that field, it's going to be a big climb uphill. It's not like impossible, but it's doable. It's just we got to have the time budgeted to properly do the development for it.
Yeah, a lot of the guys, if you see a ton of brands out there for helmets, typically what they're doing is they're getting the shells
Yep.
from, just 3 major suppliers, but the shells all kind of come from the same place because there is a lot of infrastructure around helmets. I mean, it's almost like an entirely new business in and of itself. It's
Yep.
very difficult to make helmets.
Because of that spherical structure to
Well,
it.
Getting the pressure on the top and the sides, because pressure and heat make armor, right? Pressure and heat make this plate, right? And getting that pressure to come in at all different directions all at the same time, and then the way you have to lay it up, like we can cut sheets of poly out and just lay them up and press them in our mold, but when you lay up things in a sphere, they have to be cut a certain way, otherwise they don't lay
Yep.
properly,
So you
right? So
essentially
it's
have to-
almost an art.
You've got to do like pie cuts, right?
Right.
Where you got to, like, if you take something and try pushing down, there's going to be some wrinkly spots in the corners that won't fold down correctly, right?
Correct, yeah.
In order for this stuff to form properly, it's got to lay flat. So then this way there's equal contact around. If there's not equal contact, then it's not going to form properly, and then you'll have defects, right?
Yep.
So it's just totally different. And new machinery we have to get as well. So we got to get a new press, probably a fifth axis water jet as well to trim it out. We've got to get spray booths for it as well to finish it off. There's a lot of
Yeah,
additional
right now we
machinery.
only have a 3-axis water jet, and that's
Yeah.
what we cut our plates out with. But what we may end up doing is seeing if we can get our, maybe even just start with getting our shells manufactured from a reputable source, and then finishing the helmet off
Yep.
ourselves.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't know. That could be in the cards.
Cool, 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 cool.
Yep.
Off topic, but is there an ETA on the Apex Falcon V2? Careful, chest isn't in here.
Yeah, yeah. On the Apex Falcon V2, meaning when we're going to be back in stock. Is that what they're at?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Okay, so
I think it was like April
we're
April
yeah,
20th or something like that.
Okay.
April 20th or
Yeah.
May. It should be about that time. When
should
we
be
get-
about April 20th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't quote
So-
me. I'm pretty sure that's.
You're
what I
you're
heard.
right though. It's going to be sometime this month,
Yeah.
right? Every year. Right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So that's gonna. Yeah,
Um,
it'll be happening this month. It'll be back in stock here shortly.
Chris Savage, it's not a question, but he says show a test stopping M855A1 consistently, and I'll put in a monster order for your armor. I
Okay.
buy and sell a ton of armor and gear.
Show consistently. Okay.
Yeah,
we could do
I
that.
mean-
We've set up. I don't know if you guys know this, but we'll start releasing some more footage and some more videos of our lab. We've frequented NIJ labs, and they were gracious enough to allow us to get all the information that we needed to create our own. And so we essentially built and replicated and duplicated an NIJ certified lab here. Now we don't certify armor here, nor do we claim to, but we use it to test our own armor before we send it to the certification lab. So we can do exactly what this gentleman has asked us to do, and then get it on video, and you can be pretty confident that using the equipment that we have, we're replicating those NIJ labs
Yeah. Tacticon phone case.
every time.
Every time.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
My
more
I have
Tacticon gear.
my phone case is made from DuPont Kevlar, actually.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Mine's made from carbon.
serves
fiber.
absolutely no purpose.
Yeah,
but
zero.
but it's made from DuPont Kevlar, which is quite nice.
Which plate could be better in an explosion? Imagine your AR-15 and suddenly you're shooting your AR-15 and suddenly your rifle explodes because of a bad bullet, I think.
Oh, I see. So yeah, it's kind of like a.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I'd be more worried about your throat than your plate area.
Sure, considering where your rifle
Yeah.
sits, 100%. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, fragmentation. You'd probably be exactly what Nolan said. You're going to be less. You should be less concerned
I think
with your rib cage for fragmentation.
even if they had soft armor, I'm pretty confident soft armor would stop it as well. So even if you had a 3A armor, that should be more than sufficient enough to
Yeah.
stop fragmentation all the way up to level 4, right? So I don't see that being a problem. So anything that we offer from 3A all the way up to level 4 should be sufficient enough to stop fragmentation.
Yeah. Any Kydex drop leg holsters in the future?
Probably like OWB? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep, we're working on it right now. So we've got 2 options that we're working on right now. One of them will be done sooner than the other. We have a universal OWB option that's coming out. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's like it is a polymer universal OWB holster that'll kind of serve everything from compacts all the way up to full-size firearms. And then we are going to make firearm-specific OWB holsters out of thermoplastics. So just depending on which you choose. The reason why we're doing it this way is because the universal OWB holster is most certainly going to be less expensive because I can produce more of them. All at once, just the nature of economies of scale. The more I make, the less it is, and that's what we try to do here. Is we try to be able to serve. We want to offer them as much value as possible. The OWB that is universal will be a level 2, so you push a button, get your firearm out, and the OWB that's thermoplastic will just be a level 1 retention that'll have a retention point somewhere on the firearm. So hopefully that answers your question.
They go to old Clicky Poppy.
But neither of them are going to be more than. Again, don't quote me on this. I don't have a final price point, but I will not. I can be pretty confident that I'm probably not going to charge more than $50 for even the thermoplastic
OWB. Yeah.
I think
with the panel that attaches to your belt. The whole thing all in. And it's,
the low or mid ride drop.
Yeah, and so what we did was the patent on the the Safariland QLS system came up in like 2020, and it's no longer a thing. So it kind of opened it up for us to be able to produce our own molds on that. And I like that system. So
it's a good one.
We basically modeled the QLS system after that, without violating any IP, and we'll be making a holster that is going to attach to that.
I think to answer your question about the $50 thing, I'm pretty sure we could probably keep it under 50. I'm pretty sure because I know
think so too. Yeah.
I know what the cost is for our raw materials for the bolt room.
Yep.
And I think we can easily accomplish some that's.
Well, think about this. We're right now, like on the site, you're talking about with the 40% discount that we have on the site right now. You're looking at our IWB holster package that has both the IWB holster and the mag holster. For you get it for $30 essentially. So, yeah, I think we could do OWB for not much more than that.
Yeah.
It just takes a little more material, and we don't do as much volume on OWB, so it'll be
True. What are all your guys' favorite CCW?
full
None
frame.
of your business.
Well, mid-size full frame. I take the that is the one thing where Lucas, good old El Botkin, and
Lucas Batkin.
I align with him on that. Where it's like you should, if you're going out to the range and you're training with you're training with the Glock 19, then you should carry your Glock 19. Period. It's more accurate. You're carrying more rounds with it. It's what you're used to. It's what you're training with. Most people will carry like a Glock 43 because it's easier to conceal and it's smaller. But then they'll go out and they'll train with the Glock 19 or they'll train with a 1911. It's like you should train with what you're carrying around every day because that is probably the firearm that you're going to use when shit hits the fan. So I highly recommend using a mid-size firearm or whatever it is that you normally take out to the range.
Yeah.
Carry that.
That's a
That
good
is my answer.
Yep. That's a good answer.
I'm still rocking the full-size SPO1.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and I love it.
I would rock
He
mine,
does,
but
yeah.
I've got a Glock 34, so I can't really rock that. So I would say if I were to get one, I would probably get a Glock 43 with the red dot attached to it.
When will you restock the V3 torch?
That's a good question. I would say probably
It's this month, April.
April, yeah.
It'll
I
be
would say-
it'll be restocked at the end of April.
Cool.
I think around April.
Oh wait.
Wait,
We were
hold.
doing something to the mount.
No, I think it should be probably around the end of April, beginning of May.
Okay.
For sure,
End
yeah.
of April,
Yeah,
beginning of May.
For sure, 100%.
You guys like the Battle Torch V3?
Who
Let
doesn't?
me know right now.
Let me know right
Because if
now.
you don't have it, I'm telling you right now, it's a 1200 lumen light that lasts a half hour longer than the Surefire Scout. Not Scout.
Yeah, it is a
The Scout.
Scout,
Yeah.
that's the one we compared.
And it's $80 instead of 700 with all in. So.
Yeah. Need a holster for the P80. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
he's got a valid point though. Jason has a
we-
valid point,
we need to
100%. Yeah,
The holster for the P80s.
Yeah, I think that's a
I
valid
know.
point.
We need a holster for a P80.
Jason,
Thank you for the reminder.
What?
Text.
So there's different kinds of P80s, right? As far as I know, like what's the most common one? Is it
The
Glock-
19?
the
19, 1917, yeah.
Let me just text. So, Jay, just so you know, we've got a guy that's in charge of all of our holster production here on site, and I'm getting on Slack right now to let him know to start making,
yeah,
to start
P940.
prototyping a holster for a P80. It's happening right
So,
now, I promise.
P940C.
PF940C. Is that the baby boy? Is that the itty
Let's
bitty?
see.
Nope. That is the 19, I think.
Oh boy, let's see.
Alabama.
Yep. Yeah, that's the 19. So yeah,
Okay,
the
19.
19,
Joe.
17 size.
PF9040C.
Tacoma Joe.
PF9040C. F as in Frank.
PF9040C.
Yep. 40 Charlie.
Okay, cool.
Does the universal holster require a light? No.
Universal holster,
No.
what?
No.
The universal holster will not require a light. You know how like
Oh,
some holsters go
do you
off
mean,
of like a light?
Do you mean will it accommodate a light?
Oh, no.
Or will it require a light for
Well-
the retention point?
Both would be a no.
Okay, so yeah, the universal OWB holster will not accommodate a light, a weapon light. We will. That's why we're kind of making the thermoplastic line,
Yep.
because we will be making a line of thermoplastic holsters for OWB that accommodate the light for the firearm that you're talking about. So.
I need a raw empty Tacticon slide for my next build.
A raw empty
Oh, perfect.
Tacticon slide.
So, good news is we'll be selling strip slides probably within the next 2 weeks. So, that should help you out.
Make an economical bipod.
Yeah.
So we were
My
just,
man, we're just
looking at it.
we're looking into doing that. We were just talking about that the other day. And can you guys what's economical? What can you guys give me an idea real quick in the comments? Just blast a price out of like what a quality adjustable flip up economical bipod would sound like to you. I don't even want to like influence you with pricing. Like, what would you be willing to pay for like a decent bipod?
And don't tell us like $10, right? Or $5.
Yeah, I mean, let's
be fucking realistic, right?
be absolutely 100% realistic, because
Yeah.
in the case that because if I can do it at the price point that you guys are thinking about or below it, I 100%
Yeah.
Sub
Under
150, 200, 60,
200.
under 100, 100,
Oh.
150,
okay. So we've
69.
We've generated
Nice.
some samples and some proto 69. We've generated
69.
some samples and some prototypes of the bipods that we've wanted to produce, and most of you guys are saying sub 100. It will be
Sub 100.
way sub 100. So I can absolutely for sure do that at 100%. 75 to 1.
75
Yeah,
to
all day.
120.
It's gonna be. It'll be less than 75. Yeah, I'm trying to keep the price point around 50. To be completely honest with you, I'm no promises, but that's the goal that we're setting, is a price point right around $50.
This is a perfect direction that I wanted to take this right back to armor. Please post a video and show how good the coating is on the armor and how it stops fragments with balloons around the vest.
Okay.
If it works, the whole family will be getting setups.
Okay.
Absolutely. I just responded to a comment earlier this morning. There's a lot of misinformation that goes on in the armor world about steel, primarily due to some YouTubers who go around and they duct tape either poorly made steel with bad build-up coats, or just strapping raw steel to targets and then shooting that and comparing that and saying, hey, this is how it's exploding.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak a little bit to the efficacy of the build-up?
Okay, so I want to say something real quick, because we've tested a ton of armor here, and we've put raw steel inside of a plate carrier, and
It doesn't penetrate through. So
which is great. And we don't sell steel
Right.
without a buildup coat on it, so I'm not saying. I mean, we won't even. I'm going to give you a little backstory. When we started, we made the commitment to not even sell steel armor without a buildup coat on it. So you'll find other companies out there that will say, "Oh, do you want your frag mitigation coating on it, or do you not?" Right? And it's $60 less if you don't want that coating on a plate. But giving somebody the option of putting something more dangerous inside of their plate carrier without giving them the proper education of what that danger could be, I think is completely irresponsible. So we don't even do it. It just comes standard with ours. Having said that, though, raw steel inside of a plate carrier, it took several shots to get those fragments through at least our plate carrier.
yeah. So I kind of want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, please.
So like we have here on the Battle Vest Light, on the inside, it
Right.
opens up to the inside of the plate bag.
Right. So-
Even with this, not a raw plate, but it takes a lot once you've to completely destroy the build-up coat.
Yep.
First off, it takes a ridiculous amount of rounds. And then it takes even longer to make it through the stitching on this. And that's the lightest carrier we have. But if you're rocking something like this, like the Elite carrier, you are facing a way worse scenario with how many rounds you've taken through
Yeah,
to
if you're
your
getting
steel
shot
plate
enough to actually
to
allow that
actually rip through this.
Right.
You're in a very, very bad situation. You're probably already dead.
Well, yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, by the time they put enough rounds into that 10 by 12 area in your chest, the chances that one ended
Yeah.
up in your neck or your face is probably highly likely. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I understand the concern behind
Absolutely.
fragmentation on steel. I can promise you, and I say this from the, like, half the reason I wanted to make composites was just so I had a leg to stand on so that I could talk about steel and how much I like it without being super biased. Because of course, if I only manufactured steel armor, I'm going to say, oh yeah, I love it, it's great. But I still love it, and I still think it's great, even after manufacturing composites. And I think there's an absolute place for it. And I genuinely think that frag mitigation, although it is a concern, shouldn't be as big of a concern as everybody makes it out to be, especially if you're wearing it inside of a plate carrier. You really have to put some serious amount of rounds into that plate, especially with the frag mitigation coating, to get through the plate carrier and into your neck. I mean, it's almost impossible.
I think it just depends on the round, though, right?
The size of the round.
The
True,
size
true.
of the round.
It really
Because
does.
if you shoot something with a M855, right, what you'll notice is you'll get actually more fragmentation because of
Yeah,
that steel tip,
absolutely,
right?
yep.
So I think it varies based off of A, what carrier are you rocking, B, what round are you, getting shot at with, right? And C, how many rounds are you taking to the chest?
Yeah.
On average, based off of the FBI statistics, if you are taking multiple rounds, it's about 3 shots, right? Roughly about 3 shots. But that could be just regular handgun rounds, right? So with the handgun rounds, the velocity is way slower. And with the handgun rounds, they do something that's a little bit different from rifle rounds where they start to mushroom out, right? Depending on what round it is. But that's
Yeah.
what we notice a lot with handgun rounds. So it won't be even as bad as a rifle round. Because when you have a rifle round traveling at 2,800, 3,000, 3,100 feet per second, there's a lot more fragmentation that will occur than if something's traveling at 1,100 feet per second. So that's something to think about as well.
You got a question teed up?
Let's see here. Where are we at?
Nah, I'm just going to start talking about
just
whatever I want to talk about because I got plenty of shit to say.
We got, 9 more minutes?
just about.
Yeah,
About
we'll
a
probably
few
run it
minutes.
for another 15 minutes.
Any more questions for you guys that you got here?
Nope. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, but we will we'll start inviting you into the process. We will do the balloon thing. I think that's a really good idea, just to kind of show you that it does stop, that our frag mitigation does it does stop that.
Does what
it
we
does
say
stop
it
the
does.
frag. Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. I think balloons are a great way to do it. Cardboard's another great way to do it. Yeah, we can get that done.
Even with their plates now, right? So even when I submitted it for the NIJ certification, I submit it with the bill of coat as well. So whenever you submit something into the NIJ, they'll tell you it's got to be very specific from like the thickness to the materials I use to everything. They even track my supplier as well to see exactly where I'm sourcing it from. So they know everything about my whole entire build. But anyways, with that being said, even our NIJ certified plates are certified with the bill of coat. So that's another thing that we have in addition to, make sure that we can reduce the fragmentation as much as possible for anyone that buys it.
Yep. And just to be clear, like the raw material, the steel that we use is it's manufactured as ballistic steel. I mean, this is not just your, it's not just your typical AR steel. It is made for ballistic property. I mean, it's built for that, and we source it from these same people every time.
Yep.
And I mean, it is very high stringent standards.
Very
There's never a question as to what's going inside the armor. I mean, especially with any of our armor, but that is the main concern for steel in general, but not with us. we always have the same raw materials going in
Yeah.
every time.
Randy, back to his full versus partial ballistic
sweet.
protection question. Are your plates tested to the full edge of the plate? Some manufacturers have build-up coats for a couple of inches that provide no protection.
That's actually a really good. Go ahead.
So I would say for the build coat, right, you shoot a steel plate with a 308 near the edge, there's a high chance that's probably going to go through the side. And that's just because A, the expansion of a bullet, B, the fragmentation that's incurred, and C, when it hits that strike face, it's going to want to fragment everywhere, right? So the build coat is good in the sense of...
I want to be clear though, real quick, that he's talking about the frag mitigation coating.
Frag mitigation coating,
He's
yes.
not talking about whether or not
It'll
that
pierce the
plate will
armor.
stop
Correct.
the round.
Yep.
So, to answer your question on actual penetration, you can take that round all the way up to the very edge of steel, which is one of the beautiful benefits of steel,
Yep.
and still have it stop the round. But the fragment coating may not.
Correct.
The coating may not work.
Correct, 100%. With that being said, steel, yeah, you have more edge protection with steel. For example, with our composite here, we shot it pretty close to the edge. With the NIJ testing, what they say is it can't be 2 inches from the edge and 2 inches from another round, right? So whenever we're testing for it, that's how we usually test our plates, right? So with this one, we shot it actually within 2 inches from the edge, and it still did really well.
But
It
you
performed
can
really well.
you can notice how much more deformation happens on the back of
Yeah.
the plate when you shoot it close to an edge.
Yep.
It's more so than if you get
The
towards the
other
center.
thing with composites as well is if you shoot close enough to the edge, it could stop it, but what will end up happening is the bullet will get redirected and it will actually pop off the side depending on what it is, right? So there could be a way for it to exit from the side of the plate if it's too close to the edge. It'll stop it depending on who's building it, right?
Yep.
But there's other manufacturers out there as well that will give you like a 10 by 12 plate, but really they have a bunch of foam on the edges, and that's just to make it a true 10 by 12, right? So they know that a lot of times the NIJ isn't testing for like within that 2 inches, so they'll kind of cheat it a little bit, right? And fill up that gap a little bit. So yeah, you save weight, right? But you don't get the true performance of almost edge to edge.
So per the NIJ, like he was saying, those rounds only have to do what you say they're going to do 2 inches in from the edge. Now, the crazy thing is do you remember when I broke down the area
Yeah.
of the 2 inch perimeter of the
Comes out
plate?
to about-
It's super interesting. I wish I had it in front of me right now, and maybe we'll do a video on it. But
Maybe a video or a post, yeah.
Yeah,
a video or a
yeah,
post on
yeah,
it. But the edge, when you look at the area of a plate as a percentage to the overall area of a plate, when you take the edge 2 inches in on the perimeter, it actually makes up 46% of the entire, and you could do this yourself, do the math yourself, break it down on a 10 by 12 plate. The area actually makes up about 46% of the entire surface area of the plate. So if you're only building that plate to stop the round within the inside,
That 8 by
essentially
10 zone?
8 by 10
Yeah.
area,
Yeah.
I mean, we just do it in your, I mean, you could really, I don't want to completely.
We'll make
like,
a video out of it.
Yeah, I don't want to sit
We'll
here
make
and
a
like
video
do a
out of
bunch
it.
of math and
Yeah.
have people like sign off because nobody wants to go through that.
Yeah.
We'll get
But-
a short done by tomorrow, okay?
But I mean, you could do it yourself right now just by taking a piece of paper, sketching out a 10 inch by 12 inch rectangle, and then, multiplying the 10 by the 12, and then subtracting it by the 8 by the 10, right? And you will find that like there is a serious disparity between those two areas, and you'll find armor manufacturers that will only build it within those parameters, and you're essentially losing 46% of the efficacy of the plate. We do not do that. And that's the beauty of steel too, is it is genuine edge-to-edge protection. The other thing that I wanted to mention real quick, while it's still on my mind, is there's a lot of talk about frag on steel, rightfully so, but there is frag on ceramic. And I think people tend to overlook that. I mean, you hit ceramic, you hit a level 4.
Shards are going.
I've
And you
shot,
will, especially if you hit a level 4 with
Yeah.
with like a pistol round or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not penetrating all the way through. I mean, it's going to send shards of ceramic out.
Yeah.
That could be just as damaging as those shards of.
Yeah, so for level 4s, you've got to really beef up the strike face, right? Because if you don't, then that AP round is just going to sail right through. That core is just going to go right through. So the goal of any kind of strike face is to break up that core, and then when it's broken up, then the rest of the plate can do its job. But that ceramic is extremely thick. It's probably, I would say, 3 times the thickness as what we currently use for our SRT Plus and our level 3 pluses. So
Yep.
it's way thicker. It is.
So if the round doesn't
Yeah.
penetrate the ceramic, you're getting some serious fragmentation, not only of the round but of the ceramic as well.
Even when I shoot the AP rounds
Yeah.
for testing, I get so much blowback sometimes where it's just I see chunks just come out. So it happens for sure. I mean but that's why you have a good carrier system, right? If you have a good carrier system, it's gonna catch all those chunks and you'll be okay, right?
Right.
So
I think the last questions here, ballistic shields.
Yeah. So we definitely want to make ballistic shield. We just got we just got our autoclave installed not too long ago, which was what we're going to be using for shield applications. From what
there's
what we discussed. So
a couple different ways of doing it. I think we could try exploring that way, see if we can get some benefits from it. The only other alternative is we just have to find someone that has a bigger press and have them press it. So it can go both ways, but we'll try it out first with what we currently have in our system, and if we can do it 100%, and the goal is to make sure it's light. One thing we don't want to do is make a shield 100% steel, right?
true. It's going to be heavy. Yeah.
That would
heavy as hell.
be like if you do, if you have a full size shield, that would probably be 40 pounds.
Yeah, it'd be way too heavy.
Yeah,
But
40 pounds.
shout out to the individual that sent me an email, or he sent the question into support. I remember I came across the support ticket that was super interesting. And at first, sometimes I take suggestions with a grain of salt. I always take the suggestions regardless, but sometimes people assume that we have a market for things that we don't. But this was actually pretty clever. So here's what the idea was, and this guy even drew it out for me. He said, what do you think about taking, and let me know what you guys think in the comments of whether or not you would do this. But he said, hey, instead of creating a shield, I was thinking maybe you guys could create like a sleeve to drop your plate into that had maybe like a thermoplastic handle, so that you could almost repurpose your chest plate or even like a larger 11 by 14 plate as a shield. And you don't have to buy a separate shield. Now, again, it's only going to be maybe a bit bigger than this, but having a plate that you already have and then repurposing it into a shield, depending on if circumstances dictate and you don't have time to wear a plate carrier, putting it into a sleeve, holding a handle and using it as a shield, that's something that we could potentially do right away. And then you could use existing body armor as a shield in the meantime if you really needed to, right?
Yeah.
It's not super ideal, but if you didn't have time to throw a carrier on,
Right.
shit hit
You
the
can have
fan.
some really quick.
It's kind of cool to be able to grab that and move, So
All right, last question. I think this is a good one to end it on. Which cuts do you guys prefer for armor, sappy, or shooters/swimmers? I'll go first. Sappy. If I'm wearing armor, I'm getting the most protection I can.
Yep.
And I'm dealing with it. The range of motion doesn't really affect me. I got a broad chest, so
correct,
I want the most protection that I can while I'm wearing it. Most surface area, I should say.
100%.
Right.
I would say sappy as well if it's in a multi-curve platform now. If it's a single curve,
That's true.
I would probably go with the shooters.
Yeah.
With the multi-curve system, I would 100% go with the sappy just because it conforms to your body so well.
Yep. So single curve. Do we have a single curve plate in here? Perfect.
And I'll pull out this.
I don't know
Is
if
that
you guys
a
can see.
multi-curve?
Yeah, it's multi-curve. So you can see the multi-curve system. It's got the curve in the center, and then it's got another curve that comes up kind of towards your neck.
Yeah.
And this does not. This is just one single curve.
One secular curve.
And this is clearly more of a shooter's cut. And this is what Danny was referring to.
Yep.
I can agree with him on that. That if it was a single curve, I'd probably run shooters, but I'm definitely running sappy on a multi-curve.
Yep.
I can agree with all of that. Absolutely. There's a reason why, I mean, the DoD standards are sappies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
So,
This
yeah.
has
Yeah.
been a good time. Happy answering your guys' questions. Feel free to keep commenting on this or just leave comments on our Instagram or our YouTube. I try and check them as much as possible and get back to you guys. So
Yeah, we read every comment. We
Yep.
reply to every
pretty
comment.
much.
So thank you very much for coming by, spending the time with us today. If you have any questions, reach out, man.
Yeah.
We'll answer them.
And if you have anything very specific that you need to have an answer for, reach out to these guys. They'll reach out to me, and then I'll
Yep.
just kick it back to you.
Yep, indeed.
Yep, we're very integrated here. So if you need a question answered by Danny, we'll most likely get it answered.
Yeah.
by
Genuinely
100%.
mean thank you for all the
Yeah.
support. It's a pleasure
Yeah.
being able to do what we do, and it's because of you that we can do it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Love you. Stay safe.